أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره، نؤمن به ونتوكل عليه، ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا، من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا والنساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم يغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وأحسن الهدي محمد، وشر أمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثات بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل دلالة في النار. أما بعد، قال الله تعالى في القرآن من سورة الصف: إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص. We began by seeking refuge in Allah Ta'ala from the shaitan, who is the cursed, the rejected, in the name of Allah Ta'ala, who is excessively compassionate and extremely merciful. Indeed, the praise belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal. And so we praise Allah Ta'ala. We seek His aid. We ask for His forgiveness. And we rely upon Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for all our needs. We seek refuge in Allah Ta'ala from the evil that is in our own selves, from those low desires to seem to overwhelm us from time to time. To whomsoever Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala guides, there's none who can lead him or her astray. He or she whom Allah Ta'ala leads astray because of some choice, some decision that this individual has made, there's none who can lead him right. And we openly bear witness to the fact that there is no one, no thing worthy of service except Allah Ta'ala, who is alone, single, and without any partner. We bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam lead Allah Ta'ala to be the servant. That's the thing. And for certainty, we know that the Rasulullah has advised us that the most truthful speech is the speech of Allah Ta'ala. That the best of guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that the worst of matters, those things that have been newly invented into the deen, everything of this nature is considered an innovation. It is a heresy. It is a bid'ah. And every bid'ah is a misguidance or going astray. And every going astray leads to no place except but to the fire. And so we made an effort to read from Surah Al-Saf, the 61st surah in the Quran, where Allah Ta'ala says, which translates to mean, indeed, verily, Allah loves those who fight. And this fight is not jihad. This fight is qatl Allah. Different kind of fight, but fighting nonetheless. But those who fight in the cause of Allah Ta'ala in rows, as if they were a solid structure. And so we must always me in particular, give thanks to Allah Ta'ala. And so we give thanks to Allah Ta'ala for giving us another opportunity to serve Him. We give thanks to Allah Ta'ala for giving us another opportunity and the ability to say His name. There's some that can't even say the name of Allah Ta'ala. We thank Allah Ta'ala and are grateful for the favor that He has bestowed upon us. We thank Allah Ta'ala for choosing for us Islam as our way of life. And with respect to all these things that we say, Alhamdulillah, all these things that we are grateful for, Allah Ta'ala has instructed us to say, Alhamdulillah alladhi haddana la hidayah wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla anna hadiyallah. Which is to say, translate, praise be to Allah Ta'ala, who has guided us unto this reality, who has guided us unto this knowledge, who has guided us unto this relationship that we have with Allah Ta'ala. For we know we never would have found this guided or been guided if not Allah Ta'ala had guided us to this. And so to that we say, Alhamdulillah. So the idea for today's talk, and what I'm trying to get across, ever so briefly, is the I and the we. And the I and the we is, hopefully, inshallah, people will catch on what we're saying. This particular idea came from Imam Talib Abdul Rashid. May Allah Ta'ala continue to heal him and to preserve him. And this idea about the I and the we, it comes from a place of concern that he expressed to me. And said, see if you could say something about this here. It comes from a place of concern for our psychosocial, spiritual well-being. And this speaks to the fact that we are multidimensional beings. We only think of ourselves as a physical thing, but we are more than that. They come from an understanding that our notions of self, our ideas about who we are, our identities are constantly being challenged. Do you know who you are? Do you know for what reason you have been created? Do you know? And this is not the you just saying you. This is the you. You know what I mean? Well, what we're supposed to be doing, do you know how you're supposed to be living? And if you thought, perhaps, that our claiming, our striving to be Muslim would render us safe from the ideology that's promoted here in the West, from the ideology, or from the ideas of shaitan. If you think that being Muslim has, provided us with some kind of immunization, we are immune, from, these ideas that, the West infects the rest of the planet with, then you're highly mistaken. We are not beyond getting sick. And this sickness, if you think about what we say, Allah Ta'ala talks about a sickness that's in the heart. A sickness that, wherein, if you think about the Rasulullah Islam, Hadamadika, Jibreel in particular, they came before the Isra wa Miraj and they washed his heart, purified his heart from, what may have been, at least in our case, darkness or dark spots or infections that come from, the shaitan and his whispering and his evil. But this is what we call, in some circles, we call this the environmental effect. And you got to all you have to do is remember the hadith of Rasulullah Islam. He says that, we were born in a state of submission, but in the environment, they make mention of our parents and those things that, people that we come in contact, they made us Muslims and Jews and this and that and all this other kind of stuff. The environmental effect. We don't want to say too much about that. But while living in this environment, many of us have been taught to value ourselves above anything. Many of us have been taught, to value our personal achievements, and oftentimes we give little thought to how the John Wayne talk about the rugged individual. You can do this all by yourself. Not happening. And I'm saying this because many of us, like me, have been here in this place for most of our lives. So all that we have learned, me in particular, and I constantly mention this until somebody, actually catches on to what I'm saying. Most of what I've learned from my oppressors. I don't know who you've learned what you learned from, but I went to elementary school that was sponsored by our oppressors. Went to junior high school that was sponsored by, they didn't mention the law. They didn't say anything about Allah. They was talking about the one, the two, the three equals one. I found Allah on the street, on the corner. Yo, bro, let me tell you about Allah. Allah. In Islam, we are taught differently. The deen, the beauty of the deen, the beauty of this way of life is how gracefully and how seamlessly the deen intertwines both, the notion of the individual, both with the collective, the collectivism and the harmony of being a part of a community. And I'm saying this because the Imam, he's very concerned about virtual Muslims. He's very concerned about people that don't have an attachment to a community. That's not Islam. At least that's not the Islamic way of life. Let me put that. In other words, we know about the why, about the I and the we, and how these things are supposed to function from an Islamic perspective. We know about the relationship between being a lone Muslim and being part of the community and a part of the Ummah. And we got to rethink about how we living. I mentioned that, the last go round. How we living? Are we living as if we are a part of, or are we living as if we on our own? How we living? As Muslims, we are taught to work on ourselves. But we are not taught to work on ourselves just for ourselves. Some of us work, we do, and everything we do is about the I, the me. And I'm at loss for some of these songs that we used to sing when we was, in the rapping game, you know what I'm saying? But it was all about the me. As Muslims, we are taught that we are accountable for our actions. We're reminded about that at least 17 times a day when we recite Fatiha, Maliki Yawmiddin. What's that all about? What's Maliki Yawmiddin all about? Master of the day of judgment. If you say it enough, master of the day of assessment. Master of the day when our deeds will be evaluated. Master of the day when there's going to be some determination about whether we're going to be successful or truly losers. I mean, what are we saying when we say Maliki Yawmiddin? We have been taught that if we work on improving ourselves, and this is what we should be trying to do, become just a little bit better every day. But if we've been taught that if we work on ourselves, doing so will benefit the community. I'm trying to put myself in a position so I can be a better aid, assistance, make a greater contribution to the community that I belong to. I mean, ain't that what we're supposed to be doing? I'm trying to put myself in a position in case my brother or my sister needs me, I can help out. I mean, ain't that what we're supposed to be trying to do? And if we work on ourselves to the degree that it benefits the community, we will create and strengthen the unity of our community, of the Ummah as well. And Allah Ta'ala reminds us of this when He says, and hold fast, all of you together, to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and be not divided among yourselves, and remember Allah's favor on us. That's why I keep, harping back. Allah did me a favor. I didn't do Allah a favor. And whatever good that I might do in this life, it benefits me. It doesn't benefit Allah. I gotta remember that because I think, sometimes we think we doing Allah a favor. Allah, check it out. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make 10 rakat. Make it 100. I want that benzo. We engage in, we interact with Allah like transaction, like it's a transactional relationship. You do this for me, I'll do this for you. No, that's not Islam. Whatever that is, I don't know what it is, but we're not gonna waste time trying to figure out what that is. But that's not the Allah Ta'ala is Maliki. Allah Ta'ala is Allah Ta'ala is Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of all the universes. What can we do for him? Nothing. We gotta remember that. And he told us to remember that we used to be enemies to one another. But he joined our hearts together so that by his grace we became brethren. We were laughing, at the funeral, the janazah of my brother Attila, and I was kidding around with some of the brothers, but it was the truth though. One of the brothers showed up at the janazah. I said, "You the dude that robbed me." Salam alaikum, he said. That was the truth. He did rob me. Back in the days when we was on the brink of the fire. And when I saw him, that's what I remembered. And when he saw me, he said, "Salam alaikum." I want to let that go, yo. I'm trying to figure out how to live it. So contrary to what we have learned, while being here, Islam, at least what we learn from Islam, it teaches us to maintain a balance between what we do for ourselves, the individual, and the collective. It believes in freedom. I mean, we've been hearing a lot of conversation about freedom, but we're a little confused about what that is. Islam believes in the freedom of the man and holds every person, as we said, personally responsible and accountable to Allah Ta'ala for what we do. But here we need to remind us that freedom, or that the freedom that the man speaks about, particularly, I don't know, I have to stay engaged in current events because of my occupation in the school. So I have to look at, these conventions, these political conventions. You got to know what's going on. You can't be, one of the things the Muslims we have to have a geopolitical perspective about what's going on on the planet. We are not from here. We are from everywhere. And when we don't think of ourselves from being here, we're going to think about ourselves differently. And I had to tell myself, yo, man, because I was getting all emotional. I told him, Mom, I'm watching the national convention. I'm getting all emotional. I was like, yo, what's wrong with you, man? This is what I'm saying to myself. You know what I'm saying? But it was choreographed. It was designed to have that kind of emotional appeal. But I had to tell myself, yo, man, you ain't no biscuit because you was born in the oven. Y'all heard that before? That's a hard belief statement. Think yourself, man. You still get it. I had to fight through the messaging, you know what I mean, that tried to make me believe that I was other than who I was. And I'm just trying to keep it real. But what I'm saying is that the freedom that they spoke about during these political conventions is not the type of freedom that the Muslims want. Sounds cool, but we got to get past superficial analysis of all the stuff that's taking place in our environment. It's real deep, folks. The political freedoms, or the freedom that these political people are talking about, are a freedom to disobey Allah. I don't want that kind of freedom. The freedom to disobey Allah Ta'ala. The freedom to believe that you don't have to account for nothing you do. I don't want that kind of freedom. It is the freedom to do all kinds of madness that will produce that amount to nothing. I don't want that kind of freedom. Because Allah Ta'ala has clearly instructed me about why I was created. The freedom, the West model of freedom for the individual is to do whatever you want to do. Because whatever you want to do with respect to that notion of freedom, it does not matter. Thing I ask about when I'm and you have to forgive me, folks, because uh, 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 school starts. So I'm all in my get my lesson plan together and this and writing papers, all this kind of stuff. So my mind is really in a lot of little different places right now. So, but I always tell them by the time the semester is over, there's only one thing I want you to know, and the only thing I want you to know is that you matter. Because if you know that you matter, you're gonna act different. But what you got to understand is, for us, the Muslim, what makes us matter? What makes us, have some kind of, significance? What makes us realize that we have agency, that we have power to do something? Our relationship with Allah. That's why, every time we have the Adhan, I've been trying to encourage us to say, after, and this is the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu after Hayat al-Salah, Hayat al-Falah, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi. Ain't that the truth? Who enables us to come to Salah? Allah. Who will enable us to succeed? Allah. We have to acknowledge that and act like that is the truth, because it's the truth, folks. Thank you, Allah. Remember, we keep saying, we want to remember to say Bismillah when we walk out the house. We want to remember to say Bismillah when we start the car. I don't care what kind of skills you got. You still can get it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The West wants us to kind of have a freedom that creates nothing, that contributes to nothing, that changes nothing, that is inconsequential. That's the opposite of mattering. Islam does not favor a system or a way of life that promotes this kind of freedom. This is all about me. And if you know anything, I is a shaitanic concept. That's why I'm trying to say that too much. Because the first person to say I, based on my understanding of the Quran, was the shaitan. Remember, he told Allah Azza wa Jal, I am better than him. What was he talking about? What was he talking about? I am better than him. Adam alayhi salam. We are the children of Adam. He made that assessment about himself. What did he say? Allah, I'm going to show you. It ain't about nothing. I'm paraphrasing. And he has since that time been relentless. We think because we got our little hat that we saved. No! He's coming for you. Because you and we trying to get away. He ain't got to chase the people. I'm with you, Satan. He ain't chasing them. He chasing us. And I got to get back to this because I told the brothers outside I wasn't going to talk too much. But I get a little excited. What I asked myself was this. What happened to Adam alayhi salam? That he was in a position or condition where he was susceptible to what the shaitan said to them. Let's think about that. He started relaxing. He was in the Jannah chilling. He thought he had nothing to worry about. He thought that the struggle was over and he forgot what Allah Ta'ala had said to him because he was chilling. I'm good. And he was so, and this is what happens, when we start relaxing, when we start, not staying on our job. Start chilling. Like we good. Like we Christian. Like we done got washed in some blood. It's never over. That's just my take. Because the lessons are there for us to learn from. So I'm trying to understand, well, how was it that Adam alayhi salam was susceptible to the whispers of shaitan? It's a legitimate question. And what he did was, he was no longer on guard. That's what taqwa is for me. For me, taqwa is about being on guard, being vigilant, watching out for that which attempts to distract me from Allah Ta'ala. We can get distracted. I be telling my wife that all the time. She's a distraction. Not that I don't love her. But, why do we say it? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim when we recite the Quran. Because every time we attempt to engage Allah Ta'ala, we're going to be, something's going to come along, try to distract us. We got to think about it. Allah Ta'ala says, when you begin to rehearse the words of Allah Ta'ala, seek refuge in Allah Ta'ala from the shaitan. And what are those distractions? I keep saying this because, I know you're familiar, Because the shaitan is a distraction. Right? I mean, that's why we getting the ranks and all that kind of, the dawn, he breaks out, yada, yada, right? Who else? The dunya. I mean, every time we try to make salah, what happens? I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that. People are a distraction, but we have to learn to live with each other and our own selves. My beard messed up, how am I looking? You should salah by yourself, worrying about how you're looking. Everything that we encounter will challenge relationship with them. Everything. So let me go on because, Islam is haq. We got to let that resonate for a while because, we're trying to combat systemic things. Things that may not always be visible right in front of us. Islam, as we are beginning to understand it, is the code of life that Allah Ta'ala, the Creator, the Lord of the universe, has revealed for our guidance. And in order for us to be guided, in order for us to develop, we need some resources. We need some resources to maintain our lives and to fulfill material needs of both the individual, the community at large, society in general. And to develop and to become better, we also need knowledge. We need correct knowledge about the principles of an individual and group behavior. We can't just, walk around like everything gonna be okay. No, we gotta, engage in some kind of study. We need that. And we need this knowledge so that it will enable us to fulfill our obligations to Allah first and foremost. You can't just serve Allah any old kind of way. Remember, when Jibril came to the Prophet Muhammad and asked him about Imam. And he said, Iman is amongst billah, to believe in Allah. Well, how do you believe in Allah? If someone asks you that, how do you believe in Allah? Legitimate questions, not so much rhetorical in nature. And so I remind myself, I believe in Allah, as Allah Ta'ala has described himself, and as he has instructed the Prophet Muhammad. That's what I believe. Else I'm going to be making stuff. I need to stick. What you say, Allah, that's what I'm going to say. What you say, Prophet Muhammad, that's what I'm going to say. Because as we said, Brother took a shahada last week, I don't know where yet. Some people was talking about the arm, back in the day, we talking about the arm, the leg, and the head. That was their no anthropomorphism. That was the human being projecting his own image upon the deity and serving that. Serving himself. Which is not hard to believe. Allah Ta'ala says, have you seen those who take their lust, their desires for their illah instead of Allah? Some people that believe Allah is one of three. That's why I only like use the word God. You see what I'm saying? Because we over the years, if you live, I'm close to 100. I'm surprised the brothers talking about they in their 70s, they look like 40. But for all those years, many of us, we were programmed or we learned from our oppressor these crazy notions about Allah Ta'ala. We got to get them out of our system. I got to get that out of my thinking. Like the brain is like kind of computer. People can be programmed. What are we programming ourselves with? What are we trying to reboot with? You understand that language? So we need knowledge to fulfill our obligation to Allah, your obligation to yourself, your obligation to your family, and then your obligation to the community. I mean, for me, that's how I prioritize my time. Because if I don't look out for myself, I ain't gonna be no good to my family. And it ain't no sense to me, talking about the work I'm gonna do in the community if I ain't getting no work at home. Charity begins at home. So I'm just saying all these things because it's trying to put this relationship between the I and the we, or the individual and the collective, the individual and the community, in this broad context. So we need knowledge. We need knowledge in order to maintain justice, in order to maintain, tranquility. And I yield to the knowledge. Anybody, if you know anything, what you know is how little you know. That's what you know. Yield to the knowledge. So Allah Ta'ala has provided for us the Lord of the universe, Rabbil Alameen, has provided both the resources and the knowledge in full measure for us to accomplish all that we need. Cater to whatever needs we have as people in the planet. Allah Ta'ala has put the resources of the earth at our disposal. We are to be caretakers of the planet. Ain't that what the understanding of Khalifa Art was? Aren't we supposed to be the caretakers of the planet? And here's how I go. If you take care of the planet gonna take care of you. But if we killing the planet, they're talking about, environmental justice, climate change, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? See, we got that support. We living religious. I'm trying not to be religious. Ain't about that. Because you won't do nothing. Some of the political commentators. Religion is the opiate of the people. Give them some religion. No. All they gonna do is sit there and nod. I'm religious. Yeah. Juma junkies. After Juma, they done. Anyway. And I'm here and I'm thinking about brothers outside because I know that. So to provide for our psycho, spiritual, social needs, Allah Ta'ala has raised his prophets from among men and has revealed to them the code of life that has guided man's step ever since Adam alayhi salam. Adam got back on track. He begged Allah Ta'ala for forgiveness. And Allah Ta'ala said he would send him some words of guidance. Allah has never left us without guidance. So, the code of life is known as Islam. It's always been Islam. Always been Islam. We have always struggled to be Muslim. And what does that mean? One who submits. It is an activity. It ain't a claim. Like the brother took a shahada, I said, you know what? Right now you are Muslim in name only. Muslims do stuff. If you got the name and you ain't doing nothing, you just got the name. You ain't doing nothing. As my wife always say, facts. You see what I'm saying? So, the code of life, the deen preached by all of the prophets was Islam. And Allah said this here. We believe. He said, say to them in Surah Ali Imran, we believe in Allah and in what has been sent down to us. And what was sent down to Ibrahim, Ismail, Isaac, Yaqub, the Asbab, and what was given to Musa, may Allah, and Isa, and the prophets from their Lord. We make no distinction between one another among them and Him, Allah, we have, and to Him, to Allah, we have submitted. And here's the kicker. You say it like that. And whoever seeks a deen other than Islam, it will never be accepted from him. In the hereafter, he will be one of the losers. I'm concerned about what it is that I take as knowledge, so that in the hereafter, I will not be one of the losers. I mean, you can't wait till the end to start planning for the end. How does that work? The idea is related to the I and the we. I can't talk about all this stuff, you know. And as a result, I don't know about y'all, but I'm praying. I'm praying real hard that Imam Talib gets back on his post so he can express all these ideas, you know what I mean? Because, he's got a perspective that I just don't have. We want him to share his insights and his wisdom. So I'm about to cut myself off here, because, we get a little excited about how we think about these things and just think about or rethink about how we live and how Brother Mikail is living. This is what we were saying in the last khutbah. And continue to encourage myself, which we have to do, to live according to the way of life that Allah Ta'ala guided us to. See, I got to constantly keep telling myself, because, as we are in this environment, we get all these images of what's good. The grass is, look over here, look over here, look over here. No. And remember our sister Harriet Tubman? What did she say? She said, I would have freed more of them if they knew they were slaves. You know what I think? More people would struggle and try to be Muslim if they knew that they belonged to Allah. See, when you don't know that you belong to Allah, you belong to the shaitan. Because that's how it is in the planet. Hizbullah, Hizbul Shaitan. There ain't no in between, folks. And there's some people, Allah, this is where I got to cut myself off. We belong to Allah. It's He who has sent down the book to you and I with truth, confirming what came before it, and He sent down the Torah and the Injil aforetime as a guidance to mankind, and He sent down the criteria. I'm just trying to unlearn so that I can learn to be a better servant. May Allah try to make it easy for us all. Salaamu أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين. So Imam Talib, he told me, he said, listen, Nick, let me tell you something, man. The people complain about you because you talk too loud. I'm sorry. You're always up there screaming. I get excited, you know what I'm saying? So, pardon me. Because my thing is this: if you don't believe in what you're saying, why are you up here talking? So again, out of concern for us, in his absence, the Imam told him I don't know why he always gives me these kind of assignments, uh, but he wanted to encourage us to evaluate this relationship between the individual and the community, this relationship between the I and the we, and try to understand these ideas from an Islamic perspective so that we don't get caught up or get infected with these shaitanic ideas about these concepts. So as we plot our course going forward as a community, we are a community. As we plot our course going forward as the Mosque of Islamic Brotherhood, that's who we are, community. And we ain't here trying to, invent nothing. We ain't here trying to make up nothing. Make up stuff, you know what I'm saying? We ain't got to do that. All we're trying to do is revive what and restore what has been established by Allah Ta'ala and the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the founder of the mosque and the efforts of Imam told them to keep all this stuff going. What else are we supposed to be doing? What we need to understand is that the approach from our contemporary leaders have been tailored because of our unique experience of being people of African descent living in this country. We're not biscuits. We just in the oven. And I was having a conversation with, one of the Muslim sisters about our being here. I ain't going nowhere. And I said, this is how I think about where we are. How did Musa alayhi salam think about Egypt when he was there? Wasn't there some kind of idea about transforming the society? I mean, either we gonna get tabligh or we gonna be tabligh. You ever heard that before? You understand? It said either you're gonna be giving out a message or you're just gonna be receptive to the message. In school, we say, listen, man, make sure you fulfill your agenda. Because everybody you're in contact with, they trying to have their agenda fulfilled. And you are either going to assist them in doing what they're trying to do, or you're going to listen to them to help you do what you're trying to do. What are we trying to do? Serve Allah. I don't care what you're doing. What we're trying to do is serve Allah in doing whatever it is that we are doing. I mean, ain't that right? We have, and I gotta calm down. We have but I'll say we. But I read about a doctrine of non-cooperation with the oppressor. This is how Muslims get confused. I ain't gonna mess with the oppressors. I ain't gonna do this. I ain't gonna do that. Why not? Be you on that team alone? As we get ourselves in position, in our collaboration, in our work, we make it easier for a brother or sister coming behind us. How y'all used to do when you go to movies when only one person had money to give in? Y'all wait right here. We'll go around the corner. I'm gonna pay. Ain't that's why I said something. Ain't we supposed to be looking out for each other? Medication. Somebody said something about medication. Oh, you remember those days? I thought you said it's time for medication. I remember those days when the bell used to ring for medication. Thought you're having a flashback, brother. So I'm sorry. So the message is also quite timely, as we say. We attempted to do the job with the gala. And people have to put this also in perspective. We're showing how much Allah Ta'ala has blessed us. In light of this environment, we have been blessed. And what we want to do is to encourage us to not act like individuals, but what we do for the group. Different kind of thinking. Even though we understand that there's a clear distinction between the individual and the community, this way that they work together is displayed in the five pillars of Islam, or reinforced with the declaration of faith, the prayer, fasting, zakat, and hajj. What we see when we engage in these activities, there is no high, there's no low, there's no hierarchy. You can't tell who's a millionaire on the carpet. You can't tell who's not. You can't tell who has 15 degrees, who does not. Doesn't matter. We all stand before Allah Ta'ala the same. The only thing that distinguishes us is taqwa, the degree to which we are conscious of Allah Ta'ala, and that ain't on display. Only Allah knows. When you pray, I might benefit. Because the Fatiha says, guide us. It don't say guide me. I pray that your prayer is sincere. Because if your prayer is sincere, I'm going to get blessed. I'm going to do everything I can to help you. Because if you come off, we come off. Come on, y'all. How we living? How are we even thinking about what we're doing? You know, we're not selfish to think that what we just doing is for us. I mean, of course, on the day we stand it, you know, it's going to be us in a long time. But He do the work. So faith in Allah Ta'ala, being a slave of Allah Ta'ala, frees us from being slaves to men. That's what kept the brothers alive in the penitentiary. In a system of intense oppression. All the brother had was, I'm Muslim. I don't care nothing about you. Wake up. With the police. I'm not saying all police are bad. I'm just saying. If I'm a slave to Allah Ta'ala, I am free from everything. Just think about the giving of zakat. Everybody ain't paid their zakat because Muharram been passed. We'll be paying zakat for last year. Or engaging in other acts of charity. Advocating for the needs of others, other Muslims wholeheartedly. Prioritizing the welfare of the group. Because that's what zakat is about. Let me get a little something so that somebody can benefit. Allah has blessed me. Here the individual who has benefits the community by his giving. And what happens? You get more benefits from doing just that. That's why I like to write checks, because I can write them off as a tax deduction. I get a double benefit. You know what I'm saying? We have to think about the community, even though we think about ourselves. We cannot, as individuals, live in luxury when others around us are living in poverty. That's what the game is about. We're trying to put ourselves in a position to be of help and assistance to the people in the community. We ain't retreating to those spiritual cocoons so we can get high. You understand? Saying go home and forget about everybody else. No. The Rasulullah here said, he is not a believer who takes his full or his fill while his neighbor starves. Back in the days, ask the brothers that been in. MIB used to benefit the community, feed the community, clothe the community. Why we ain't doing that? But we got short money. We actually got more money and doing less. But we don't have enough. The concept of the car requires us to make, these mandatory deductions from our wealth and distribute it among the poor. It's called this in these other terms, they call it income redistribution programs. Income redistribution. You get the loan, distribute that little stuff so somebody else can benefit. And as a result, we improve the welfare of us all. There's an ayat, and I'm about to wrap this up, in Surah 51, and in their wealth, there was the right of the sahil and the mahrum. And according to Ibn Kathir, in his commenting on, and in their wealth there was a right, what this suggests is that, or what plainly states, that a designated part of that which has been given to us is to be dedicated to the sahil and the mahrum. According to this tafsir, the sahil is the poor who begs. He has a due right. And for the mahrum, Ibn Abbas and Mujahid, may Allah Ta'ala be pleased with them, they said he is the poor person who does not receive a stipend. Meaning, he does not receive, like welfare and all that kind of stuff. He does not receive a stipend from the Muslim treasury. Nor does he have a means of income nor a profession. Even so, the community is required to ensure that they are taken care of. It is our mutual obligation that we're supposed to be looking out for each other. That's how we're supposed to be living. Not like in the U.S., where we are, when people that are unhoused are declared, if they engage in that activity, to be illegal. How is it the fact that you made it difficult for me to pay rent and I got to live on the street, and then you're going to demonize and criminalize me to put me in the penitentiary, slave system, to work, and when I got let go, I still can't get money to get. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how, we are turned against ourselves, criminalized and demonized because we are being oppressed. Just think about that. And here's how I go. The rich get richer, the poor get prison. So we've said a lot, and I just need to wrap this up, think about yourself, but don't think about yourself. Don't think about anybody else. That's not Islam. And that's basically what we're trying to convey. Everyone is accountable for our actions before Allah Ta'ala. Islam promotes the kind of individual freedom that contributes to the betterment of not only the individual, but the society as well. Not the freedom to disobey Allah Ta'ala without fear of consequences. All are equal before Allah Ta'ala, except where we are distinguished by our taqwa. Righteous deeds, being just to oneself and others, is what endears us to Allah Ta'ala and gets us closer to Allah. What we have to remember is that we serve Allah by serving humanity. You don't have to have on no big hat, no long gown. You don't have to have on none of that to be of some help to your neighbor. So we encourage. This is again back to the gala, to the Hill community. We encourage to network with each other. Everybody, people got skills sitting on this musalla. What if we combine all our skills? What if we, help each other? A lot of brothers here got businesses. What if we became, part owners of your business by investing in each other? I don't know if, So that's what I think, with the message that we're trying to put forth in the gala is a way of paying things forward. Remember we said, Sadaqah Jariyah. is a chance to rethink about what it means to do for self by Allah Ta'ala's permission. Is a chance to rethink about what it means to be self-determining, community as individuals, a chance to raise money, not just on the September 14th, but regularly, raising funds instead of sitting around thinking that somebody gonna give us stuff. It ain't gonna happen. And I was joking, and I gotta end this here because I said, during Days of the Prophet, they was sticking up caravans. It's about that money. Now, how so we gonna be Muslim? Not saying we gotta go rob a caravan, but all of a sudden now we gonna act like we ain't about the money no more. We need resources. And consider what Allah Ta'ala, the boy said to Mary when she was sitting under the tree talking about she was hungry. Shake the tree. We got to do something, folks. Shake the tree. So, if 3 people in the town, according to the Rasulullah, or in the desert, do not establish a prayer among them, Shaitan has overcome them. We must establish the togetherness which congregational prayer represents, because the wolf eats the isolated sheep. We gotta stick together. So we're just asking Allah Ta'ala to make it easy for us. I pray, inshallah, that you forgive me being a little loquacious. Nice word for saying long-winded. You know what I'm saying? But, I get excited. I don't see how you can be Muslim. I don't see how you can have faith, any kind of faith, and it doesn't move you. If you believe, you act like it. I'm not just talking about rapping and stuff. A lot of them just sitting on the study mind, they are doers. We got to get a collective doing going on. So may Allah Ta'ala make it easy for us. Again, anything that we said that was off the mark, that definitely was the shaitan. And if anything made any sense, that was Allah Ta'ala guiding our tongue. And I pray for all the mistakes that have been made herein. You ask Allah Ta'ala to forgive Brother Mikail. Mention my name, because I'm hoping that Allah Ta'ala calls me by name when He calls the people. That will be, for me, one of the greatest joys. Call my name. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Before we pray to Salah, as we do every week, please bear with us for a few quick announcements. Thank Allah for today's khutbah delivered by our associate Imam, Dr. Mikail Deveaux. May Allah protect him and reward him. Ameen. Pray for the sick and suffering in our congregation and throughout the country and world, including the Sudan, Gaza, and the West Bank. We ask Allah's healing from illness for our senior Imam, El-Hajj Dr. Paulin Abdul Rashid, and Elder Farouk and his wife Aisha, and Brother Amir al-Islam, and Jawad Abdul Wadud. We also pray for Sister Saliba Reed, Sister Sabra Abdullah, Sister Bayi, as well as Sister Janice, the wife of Brother Abdul Wakil. Now, please give your attention back to the brother. Give anything you want to say. Lord, to
Don't get your attention back to me. What we need to do is say talk there, because our prayers have been answered. Last week we got Brother Yusef. We was praying for his return. Praying, may Jawad come back. Jawad sitting right there. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Prayer works, folks.
Now, please give your cash donation, brothers and sisters who are collecting. And for those of you online, please text the word give, that's GIBE, to 347973, or to be fine. Last, we encourage you to praise Allah to fulfill there as we praise Allah to whom are here at the masjid, and may Allah accept our worship. Ameen. Quran, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله